Okay, students, welcome back. In this video, we're going to understand how destructor of the derived class gets called when an object of derived class goes out of scope. Goes out of scope. So, in the previous discussion, we discussed about how constructor gets called. So now here we're going to understand how destructor gets called while a derived class destructor goes out of scope. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to create two class, very simple two class that you're going to create. We're going to create a base class, and what you're going to do, we're going to inherit this class to a derived class. We're going to inherit the base class to derived class. This simple thing that we're going to do. So we'll see when this derived class destructor gets called. We'll see when this base class destructor gets called. So we'll go to the demonstration now. We're going to create very simple class we called here class base. Very simple class that we are creating, and we are providing only constructor and destructor to this class. Constructor will have the same name of the class name. We are just printing the simple line here from base constructor. From base constructor. Similarly, we're going to add a base class destructor here. Destructor name is also same name as the class name. Only difference between destructor and constructor is that destructor name is preceded by a tilde symbol. So here also going to add this simple line from base destructor. Next, what we're going to do, we're going to create a very simple class here, derived, and we're going to inherit the base class as public inheritance. Publicly we're going to inherit and simple thing we're going to put constructor and destructor of the derived class. So we're going to create the derived class destructor here. We're going to put simple line inside the destructor body by which you'll get the understand what is the flow of destructor calling. Okay. So it is very simple basic inheritance we did here, public inheritance. Now go to the main method and let's create first base class constructor, base class object. So base b1, we are creating an object here. We're not calling passing any argument because we provide only a parameterless constructor here, and then we are creating an object of derived class, derived d1. Okay. Save this file. Okay, let's compile this code. Okay, the required header file is missing here, so we're going to include the required header file iostream, and also going to add this line using namespace std. Save this file and let's compile this code. Now let's try to examine this code one by one. First we have created the base class constructor. So base class constructor gets called. So you get the first output from base constructor. Then we created the derived class object. So first base class object, which is the part of derived class object, will be created first. So base class constructor gets called again when we created the D1. D1 is the derived class object. So after creating the base class constructor for D1, derived class constructor gets called. So it's printed from derived class constructor. Thereafter, when program control goes out of scope, that means after the main method, when program control goes out of scope, at that moment, both the variable, that is B1, D1, both the object going to out of scope. Now let's see what is the order of this. So first, when out of B1, D1, let's see which one goes out of scope. First, see that object we have created last D1, it goes first out of scope. Order is just reverse of the constructor. So first derived class destructor gets called. Now derived class also have a base class part. So base class part of the derived class constructor gets called here. So that means D1 created second, but its destructor called first when object goes out of scope. Just opposite of the constructor calling. Then B1 left, then when B1 goes out of scope, then it's called the base class destructor. So what we can conclude here, we can conclude this thing. The order of destructor calling will be the opposite order of constructor calling. Okay, very simple thing that you should remember and very easy to understand also. So I hope this demonstration, simple demonstration is clear your all the doubts how a derived class constructor gets called, how a derived class destructor gets called. Thank you.